feel your best.
And I think we want to get Michael Wilbon in here, but you may bring up a good point because we've looked at civil rights movements in the past, Mike, and you've been covering the league for 34 years. You can start with Rosa Parks. It took 13 months before a legislature was passed so that, you could end the issues with the buses in Montgomery. So let's have a conversation about how this could be different or how the players can move forward, because as Woj said, they want to lock arms, they want to move forward in one direction. But what does that look like moving forward?
Well, I think before we get to what it looks like, Maria, I'm going to go back to something that Stephen A. referred to. I can't think of a cause worth pursuing in my life, particularly not a cause that people of color have pursued that didn't need funding. So if we're going to talk about empowerment, it starts with economic empowerment, and that starts with funding. So there's no giving away money. I'm against that. I mean, that's a place that we have to start. I don't care how, there's never too much money. And so leaving money on the table, to me, that's a non-starter. And again, I'm like you guys, I looked at this last night and yesterday and thought I am proud of the idealism and the spirit and the energy with which these young men and women, many half my age or less, are pursuing this. But don't ever think that it's done successfully without money, because it isn't. And also, one of the things that I think, Jalen, you referred to is people, your voice, your power's in your voice. As much as it is in your numbers, it's in your voice. You don't ever give up your voice, and therefore you don't give up the platform. And I think this is a very important thing. As we go back, we never saw people who were involved in protests at the highest level in our culture give up their voice. Did Muhammad Ali ever give up his voice? Not until it was literally taken away from him through illness. We never saw that. We never saw Bill Russell give up his voice. Never saw John Thompson give up his voice. And I can go on and on with this. It doesn't just have to be sports. But as long as we're talking about the context of this being sports, don't give up your voice so you don't give up the platform. And sometimes the threat of using the leverage can be more important, and is more important than actually using it. So you can threaten using it again. And so, again, I admire the spirit, and by the way, considering everything, given the sense of desperation that we're in right now as a people, as a nation, I admire exploring every avenue, including a boycott. But ultimately, you don't give up your platform. The existence of this platform, by the way, is what has spread now to every other sport nationally. If you don't have that platform, you don't get that attention.
Well, let's talk about that further with you, Paul, because, you're a finals MVP. You understand what a platform is. You understand what it's like to have eyes on you, people listening to you. What's the perceived result of the boycott and what you've seen so far from what players are trying to achieve with social justice?
I mean, they've gone beyond what they've tried to achieve. I mean, you got to understand, what their whole initiative of coming down to the bubble was to play ball and let their message be heard. Now, what I saw yesterday, that's the loudest message that they can make, and it showed how much power the players really have. We have one of the most influential leagues, if not the most influential sports league in all of the world, because as you see, these other sports leagues follow what we do. They follow our trends. They follow, we starting back. They follow everything that we do. So, I'm proud of these guys for making a stand, and hopefully they can continue to use this platform for greater change. But at the same time, when I watch it, it's exhausting. I mean, to be all in honest, I got to go home and talk to my son and my daughters and about the issues that we are in front of today. And when they ask me why, it's exhausting, just that we keep, have to deal with these issues. And all we ask for is to be treated like everyone else.
And Paul, thank you for bringing that up and humanizing everyone who's sitting here and on this show. We got to thank all of y'all for being here, because I know it has been exhausting. We're going to talk about that further in the show, the conversations you guys are having with your kids. But Stephen A., I know you had one more comment.
I want to chime in with what Jalen said earlier, because I think it's incredibly important. Listen, as Wilbon and Jalen and all of us, listen, I've had my daughter in the car with me, and I got surrounded by eight cops, for crying out loud. And a cop was getting ready to pull out his gun on me because I asked him, what did I do? And if the other officer hadn't recognized me, it was going to be problematic. I remember I was in Atlanta, Georgia, right downtown, and I made a left turn illegally. And because of that, the cop literally pulled out his gun and told me to get the hell out the car. We've all experienced this as black people, especially black men. We understand what's going on. Here's what I'm tired of, Jalen. I'm tired of this notion that we got to do stuff one way. And we got to play chess instead of checkers. Checkers instead of chess, rather. I'm tired of this notion that, you know what, we got to pick this because we can't have it all. 50 Cent got a line in one of his rap songs. He said, hey, you trying to buy Gucci, I'm trying to buy them all. I ain't come for a little bit, I'm trying to get it all. You know, I love that because that's the kind of mentality that we should be having. If you are an NBA player with the cachet that you have, the money that you make, the influence that you're having, excuse me, how about looking at the NBA as a friend instead of an enemy? Are they perfect? Hell no. You got owners that you think you wish would do better. You got executives that you think should do better. You got players that you think should do better. But there is no question when you look at what goes on in the NFL, when you look at what goes on in other places, that the NBA has been a friend in this situation. They've thrown over $300 million to social justice issues over the last few weeks. They've committed that over the next 10 years. They're obviously been doing some other stuff, not to mention the fact that they've got them in the bubble in Orlando. They've paid over $200 million. They're doing all of these things. They are your ally that you could utilize to affect politicians on state, local, and federal level. Utilize them all and go for it all. That's all I'm talking about. Don't limit yourself to it. Take all of it.
Yeah, I think the issue is your power is your labor. And so imagine a world in which the NFL players and NBA players decided they were not going to play next season. Let me tell you what's not going to happen. $1 billion industry, more than $1 billion, is not going to ground to a halt. They're going to run out to their state legislatures and be like, y'all need to figure out police reform because our players aren't showing up, and they demand change. And I think that that's something that could also happen, although it would result in a huge sacrifice and maybe leaving some money on the table.